Some time ago, SSL released a new version of one of their most iconic pieces of gear of all time, the bus compressor. On paper, it looked like the ultimate 2-bus compressor and everybody freaked out. It was one of the latest additions here at MixBus TV Studio. I had it for a few months. I did a bunch of mixes with it, a bunch of masters with it, and in this video we are gonna really see if this is the ultimate 2-bus compressor. I'm gonna tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly. Let's go. Hello everyone, welcome back to MixBus TV. Hope you guys are having a great day. Before we start, please check the info box down below. In there you will find the link to the SSL Bus Plus compressor, along with free plugins, special discounts and offers. And if you haven't already, please go and check out the new website, mixbustv.com. In there you will find all the available mix and mastering courses, start to finish, on many different genres, including the latest 2, Mixing Hip Hop and Mixing Rock 2023. On the website you can also book all the other services, mixing and mastering, production, private lessons, mix consultations, and a lot more. And if you want to access the members only videos here on YouTube, click the join button, become a MixBus TV member, up your mix and mastering skills. And if the videos are helping you, please consider the super thanks or grab some merch. Let's get to the video. The Bus Plus really takes the classic, iconic SSL bus compression sound that shaped countless of hit records and take it to the next level and adds a ton of new features that make this compressor really versatile and extremely flexible. In fact, I want to say in the SSL Bus Plus, you have 2 completely different compressors and an extremely powerful dynamic EQ. The unit itself, it's built extremely well. Love the faceplate that matches the Fusion. Thick faceplate, quality backlit, color changing buttons, and knobs. And right away on the knobs we have something special. In fact, these are not just stepped pots, because all of these are stepped. All the pots on the Bus Plus are read by an onboard microcontroller that in turns control the analog circuitry. So in short, we have an analog digitally controlled. This makes recalls and also stereo matching absolutely perfect and gives the Bus Plus immunity from pot and component tolerance. Let's start with the basic functions. For each channel we have threshold, attack, makeup gain, variable sidechain, ratio, which has many additional settings from the classic G-Bus compressor, starting from the lower ratio 1.3, 1.5, going up to 20, and then even negative ratios for special effects. We have a release knob with, again, many additional settings from the classic design, so the attack, and 2 auto settings. And then we have a mix knob for onboard parallel compression. And now we start with the special functions and arguably some of my favorite features of this compressor. The first one is the low THD button. This one, when engaged, reduces distortion on the low range, especially useful not only on material and genre that are bottom heavy, but also when you use fast release time, it reduces the artifacts that you might find in other compressors. This is one of my favorite features. For EDM and hip hop, when you need those 808 and those big bass to be clean and powerful, this is when you engage this button. The second button is the FB button, which stands for feedback mode. This function completely changes the character and the behavior of the Bus Plus, which has been historically a feed-forward compressor. The snappiness, the aggression, the grabbiness that we expect and we are used to here. Feedback mode turns this into a much smoother, much more musical compressor. This is why at the beginning I said you literally have 2 completely different units in the Bus Plus. You're gonna hear the examples, and then we have the 4K mode button. This button switches from the new, modern, cleaner SSL bus compressor to the old iconic 4K bus compressor. But they didn't stop there. If we keep pressed this button here, you see a flash in it, and with the low THD and the FB button, we can change the intensity of the circuit and dose that color to our likings. Before taking a look at the dynamic EQ and the different modes, there are a couple of push buttons here, actually 3. The first one, if we press the makeup gain, you can see the post DEQ lights up. This simple move again changes everything as it puts the compression before or after the dynamic EQ. And if we long press, we can go in fine mode. The press to activate functions of the sidechain knob instead are relative to the external sidechain. The external sidechain controls the comp, the dynamic EQ, or both. The LF gain is the first black knob and is relative to our dynamic EQ. By pressing this, we engage the G mode. This static gain, which can be positive or negative, the regular would be the E series, and pressed would be the G series. And then we have the dynamic EQ. We have controls for the low shelf and the high shelf, of course, for both channels independently if we are using the compressor in dual mono or mid-side. You press to engage and disengage the dynamic EQ. The dynamic EQ has both negative and positive values, so you can attenuate, let's say, a kick drum, or you can boost only when the kick drum or the low end triggers the band. We have a LED light that indicates how much the dynamic EQ is working. It goes from green to red to indicate the intensity. Same for the high band as well. And the high band, which is a shelf by default, can be turned into a bell by pressing this button. As for the attacker release of the dynamic EQ, we have 3 settings. We have the regular settings, we have fast settings for high and lows as well. And if we long press, the lights turn pink, which is a 3rd setting. All the specs with the exact attack and release times are in the manual if you're interested. And when I said the dynamic EQ is deep, I really meant that was deep. In fact, if we long press the low frequency button, you can see the compressor goes in settings mode and you can see our metering are flashing. When in this mode, by using these 2 buttons, HF and LF fast, you decide the corner frequency in which the dynamic EQ, low frequency in this case, is operating. And in the manual, you will find the exact frequency that every step corresponds to. On the right view meter, we set instead the range of the dynamic EQ. When you're done setting this, keep pressing and the compressor goes back to normal. You want to do the same for the HF. Here we go. You set the frequency here, the range here. This is for the shelf. This is for the shelf. In fact, if you take a look here, when in shelf mode, I have my top end dynamic EQ set at 8. I press now HF and I press the knob again. You will see that my bell is set to another frequency and you can change this independently. So let's say I want to set my bell at 4, which corresponds to a given frequency. Then I disengage, press HF again. It's different from the shelf. In use, this is extremely useful because what I found out after using the compressor on a number of songs for mixing and mastering, I found that I like to boost for the most part, sometimes attenuate when in shelf mode with the frequency set around 10 to 12K. But in bell mode, I set my frequency around 3K because in that way, this band becomes a D harsher and it's absolutely amazing to remove harshness and hard consonants from an entire mix. And lastly, we have the mode section, so we can bypass and activate each channel independently, and we have the mode button in the middle. So we have the classic stereo, we have the Sigma sidechain stereo, which basically makes the compressor react a little more to the mid channel. Then we have dual mono, so independent left or right, wider stereo image, although you will have to set up both channels to match. And lastly, we have mid side, self-explanatory. The left channel controls the mid, the right channel controls the side. Now, if all these functions weren't enough, SSL went even further. In fact, the Bus Plus has a game inside that is called Codebreak Master, and just like the Fusion, we have a video on it. You press a combination of buttons while you turn it on and you enter the game. But the game, while cool, is not just a game. In fact, when you win the game, you actually unlock an extra feature on the Bus Plus. And let me tell you, it's a really cool feature, and it's a transient designer. I played the game, won the game, and of course I have this function and I will show you how it sounds later on, but this is how you engage it. You keep pressed the HF button to activate the transient designer. Now the HF knob becomes a transient designer, and what a cool transient designer, I might add. Now all this is absolutely great, but all this versatility comes with a price, so to speak. In fact, the only problem, so to speak, that I have and that you will have is gonna be recalls. Because unless you set and forget all the sub menu and the sub settings that this compressor has, every time you take pictures for a recall, you need to make sure that you're going inside the sub menus by pressing this, checking the frequency for the low band, the range for the low band, same for the high frequency. Take pictures of that. If you change the 4K settings, make sure that you can see the color well, because the red and the orange are okay, but the yellows, see these settings, this and this, are pretty similar. So you need to make sure that you're taking pictures and you know what the settings was. The wide's got a dirty wide and a ice wide, so you have to make sure, if you're using all the sub menus and you change them often, to go inside every menu and take pictures of everything for recalls. That's the one thing that unfortunately I wish SSL gave us full digital control with a plugin so we could recall presets. Without further ado, let's hear how it sounds. All right, let's stop here for a second. A little commentary. I picked this song because it's very simple. It's very easy to hear the nature and the color of the compressor in action, at least the basic functions. We immediately hear two things: that grabbiness and that push typical of SSL compression. At first, with no extra functions, no K mode, no low THD, it's got that clean VCAA, punchy and aggressive sound. Sidechain engaged for a song like this with a big kick. When I engaged the dynamic EQ, we could hear more snap on the hat, more snap on the snare, and it sounds really cool. It sounds very different from the digital dynamic EQs. There are not many analog dynamic EQs, and this one is a great one. You heard the difference when I changed from regular to fast settings and then to the pink setting, which is the slowest. The low end dynamic EQ is my absolute favorite. You heard how the bottom end, the kick, becomes bigger. And I kept the G series engaged because it's my favorite shape for the EQ. The E series is a little too boomy usually, even though you can change the frequency. The G series is, I want to say, my signature sound, the sound of my favorite records. I absolutely love it. When we engage the low THD, we have this clean low end because I'm using a really fast release. And then I'm sure you notice something when I engaged 4K. The color, it is not subtle whatsoever. In fact, for me, I don't think I've ever went past the second click for the 4K. So it's ice white, the dirty white. I never went up until now to the orange, to the yellow, even less to the red, unless I'm using it on, for example, a drum bus instead of the 2 bus. So the 4K color is amazing. I love it, but it's definitely there and you definitely hear it. And so for me, lower settings work better, but I also have a lot of gear at the color. So it's a great option to have, but it's definitely not subtle. You hear, especially in the low mids and the low range. Let's keep going with the example.
So bad, the world we're living seems to be so wild. What is good we're gonna change, and what is bad we're going to bring. But baby, trust me, wasn't there to follow. What's the meaning of the time you're wasting? You better say that. What's the reason why you look so frightening? We're here to say that. So we don't know how to think more. For a night we'll make you dream, and for that all your
Different attack settings. I'm gonna go with a fast release. You can hear it in action better. Okay, so you heard how grabby this thing is, and that snare as we go to a slower attack, that is the SSL punch, that is the SSL sound. Actually, I want to say, compared to other compressors that take inspiration from the SSL bus compressor, I find that given the same attack, for example, a bus plus a 15 milliseconds attack versus another compressor, SSL style, a 15 milliseconds attack, the SSL grabs more. So I tend to have even slower attack settings to get that snap, that I do with other compressors. The dynamic EQ is something that I personally never really thought about having it on the 2-bus for mixing, definitely in mastering. But now that I have it, I use it all the time, or almost all the time, because this particular, especially the low end, once again in G mode, is just that sound, and the way it keeps the low end focused is second to none. I'm gonna play with the low HD with fast attack so you can hear how the artifacts of having a fast attack, especially on a fast song like this, can be detrimental, and how the low THD eases that and makes everything much better. I'm also gonna play with the feedback mode.
What's up in the midnight fire? Seems like you're not having fun. I think it's time to turn that music higher. We are the ones that are meant to fall. We are fucked up in a hole. We are the lights to dream of in your nightmares. What's the meaning of the time you wasted? You better say that. What's the reason why you look so frightening? We're here to say that. Try to look around yourself. Everything just looks so bad. The world we're living seems to be so wild. What is good we're gonna change, and what is bad we're going to pray. But baby, trust me, was over to follow. What's the meaning of the time you wasted? You better say that. What's the reason why you look so frightening? We're here to say that. So we don't know what to think for. For a night we'll make you dream, and for that all your What's the meaning of the time you wasted? You better say that. What's the reason why?
Okay, you heard it. That 4K color is something, and it's a beautiful color. Is just like the old SSL that made this compressor famous. It is there, and it's greedy. So this is my advice on how to use it on certain genre when you actually want that grit, and we want to call it dirt. Then go up yellow, orange. You know, I think red for a full mix is way too much no matter what, but for drums, for bass, that's great. But even just the first click, the ice white or the dirt white, which is usually what I use it for on 2-bus, is just enough to make it not transparent and add the right amount of color and grit and give character, give that analog vibe without dirtying things up. So that's how I would use it. The feedback mode, you heard it. It changes the behavior of the compressor completely, and we're gonna do other examples on more mellow stuff. Because when I say it changes the behavior completely, in my opinion, it makes this compressor so much more flexible and versatile to the point that in mastering, I don't even look at it as an SSL G-bus compressor anymore. It's a totally different beast. It's capable of leveling gently and smoothly, which is something you would not expect from an SSL G-bus. And this one does it all, and it's pretty crazy.
What's
However long I stay, I will always love you. Whatever words I say, I will always love you. I will always love you. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am free again. Whenever I'm alone with you, you make me feel like I am clean again. However far away, I will.
And I think this is a great example of how versatile this compressor can be. I don't think I would have ever imagined using an SSL compressor on a song like this, but you put it in feedback mode, low THD, and everything changes. It becomes absolutely musical, and again, the dynamic EQ is just a quick way to reshape and enhance what's there. I'm gonna now use the HF to attenuate that harsh range, because like I said, I have it set around 3K, and you will hear how effective that is.
I reached inside myself and found nothing there to ease the pressure of my ever-worried mind. All my powers waste away. I fear the crazed and lonely looks the mirror sending me these days. Touch me. Oh, how can it be? Believe me, the sun always shines on the screen. Hold me close to your heart. Touch me and give all your love to me. Please don't ask me to defend the shameful lowlands of the way I'm drifting gloomily through time. I reached inside myself today, thinking there's got to be some way to keep my travels distant. Touch me. Oh, how can it be? Believe me, the sun always shines on the screen. Hold me close to your heart. Touch me.
All right, so you heard the two different frequencies for the shelf, which I like to boost a little, and the bell, which I like to cut in that 3-4K range where things can get harsh. It's again not only a great feature to have, but unseen on a 2-bus compressor. Let's do another couple of mixes, and then last I'll run drums through it, because there is an argument to be made, at least in my setup, on where I want this compressor. I want it on 2-bus or I want it on drums, especially combined with the 2 SSL EQs that I have there, which are usually going on kick and snare. That is a absolutely insane combination.
This is our goodbye, my love. This is last sunrise, my love. This is must die to us, love. This is trust I come by, love. of this game. I'm sick, let me hate. Let me off the crazy train. I'm sick of your face, I'm sick of heartache. Goodbye, goodbye to the tears. Goodbye, goodbye to the fears. Good times last for a dime. Good times until our time. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Days dark lipstick on those cherry blossom lips. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Now I'm a shade of red, move on to the next. Sick of heartbreak, becoming a monster of rage. Sick of heartache, you make my heart break. This is your date, my babe. This is the bitter taste, my babe. This is what heartache is, my babe. This is true hate for my babe. You're sick of my mouth. You're sick of my doubt. You wanna play games in peace. You're sick of my tears. You're sick of getting caught, my dear. Goodbye, goodbye to the tears. Goodbye, goodbye to the fears. Good times last for a dime. Good times until our time. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Days dark lipstick on those cherry blossom lips. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Now I'm a shade of red, move on to the next. Sick of this is our goodbye, my love. This is last sunrise, my love. This is must die to us, love. This is trust I come by, love. I'm sick of this game. I'm sick, let me hate. Let me off the crazy train. I'm sick of your face, I'm sick of heartache. Goodbye, goodbye to the tears. Goodbye, goodbye to the fears. Good times last for a dime. Good times until our time. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Days dark lipstick on those cherry blossom lips. You know what you're doing, you know how you're moving. Now I'm a shade of red, move on to the next. Sick of
So as you saw, I played with the stereo modes. So classic stereo, Sigma mode, and then dual mono and mid side. Of course, it's not as immediate as controlling everything with one side, especially while filming the video. But when I do tests of the unit, I want you to see the truth. I don't want to do the file without it and then with it, without you seeing me moving the knobs, because unfortunately in YouTube, there's a lot of fakes. I don't know if you're aware of it, but there are a lot of fakes. I mean, if someone wants to hype a product and do cheap tricks to make you think and believe that it does what it doesn't, that would be the way to do it, because you don't see anything. You just hear, this is without and this is with. When I do reviews, you see me moving knobs, so you know that that's it, that's what is going on. And you heard the difference. The old SSL gray face was in the nature of the unit to kind of narrow the stereo image a little bit, whether that was what was actually happened as opposed to what I believe, which is a combination of yes, that, but also if you heard the top end, when we engage the 4K mode, especially at higher settings, it kind of does something to the top end, right? It doesn't darken it, but it dirty it up. And because usually high frequencies are more on the sides, I think that also played a role into giving people the feeling that was narrowing the image. With that said, it definitely happens with stereo compressors on the 2-bus, but in dual mono mode, you have total independence left and right. The stereo image is wide, mono channel is still solid, and we also played with the mid side, and you probably heard the difference between the classic stereo and the Sigma stereo. So it reacts more to the center channel, is a little more grabby, even more grabby. It's an interesting function. It's definitely a good option to have there. Last, as I promised, let's do drums. I think this is it for this video, guys. I know you probably have a lot of questions, so leave them in the comments down below. If you follow the channel, you know that I have 2 other SSL style bus compressors as well, and probably in a members only video I will compare the 2 big ones. But if you have questions, leave them in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer. If you liked the video, as always, please consider using the super thanks. Leave a like, share, and if you haven't already, check out the new website mixbustv.com. In there you will find all the mix and mastering courses start to finish. Link to the SSL Bus Plus is going to be in the info box down below. Click the join button, become a MixBustV member if you want to up your mix and mastering game and access all the exclusive videos here. Thank you for watching. Subscribe if you haven't already. Stay safe. See you next time.